title of her speech being The Answer. The Answer, Larisa.
Beloved Toastmasters, I love you. I know some of you may be thinking, this girl must be crazy, you can't love everybody. You might be thinking, I love you too. And you might be thinking, well, this escalated quickly into awkwardness. I think I'd rather just be looking at my phone right now. Prior to 90 seconds ago, when was the last time someone told you they love you? How did it feel? And what impact did it have on you? Small acts of compassion can create connection and make a big difference. If you've been with me a few weeks ago, you would have experienced this. Raise your hand if you love going to the dentist. Me either. Cleanings are one thing, but procedures are a whole other level. I made no effort to hide my fear as I was checking out from my appointment with my appointment for the procedure, and making the next appointment. I told them at the front desk, I am not expecting to be a happy camper. They said, oh, don't worry, we can give you a stress ball to squeeze. That's only gonna help a little bit. We've also got this chair that has a massager and heat. Okay, a little bit better. And they said, and Giovanna can hold your hand. Now we're talking. Now, I looked at their faces to try to deduce, are they really offering this or are they joking with me? And I said, yes, I would like Giovanna to hold my hand, thank you very much. So a few days later, when I arrived for my appointment, I made sure as I walked in, Giovanna's holding my hand, right? So we got situated into the chair, heat on, massage on, Giovanna puts her gloves on. Now she's a lovely lady with kids probably around my age. She's a little bit taller than me, and she's from Italy, which is my favorite accent. She's very loving and comforting and smiles, and you really can feel that love emanating from her. So she puts her gloves on, she places my hand into hers, and then she places our hands onto the spittoon next to the table. And from that point on, she remains holding my hand for the length of the procedure. All during the drilling, where smoke is coming out of my mouth, and you smell that smell that's kind of like burning hair. And when the dentist says, now I'm going to use the tool I call the brain rattler, he was not kidding. But she was like my anchor, helping me to stay in that chair instead of climbing the walls. I felt love from her and connection, and something so small was able to make such a big difference. I had a similar compassion experience when I was at the Hill Cumorah pageant in Palmyra, New York. It is the largest and longest running outdoor pageant in the world, with a cast and crew of over 1,000 people. I had the pleasure of being in the cast in the summer of 2017. My favorite scene is, it's basically scriptures on stage, and so my favorite scene is when the Savior comes down onto the stage and a little child goes running up into his arms and picks him up and cradles him with all the love in the world. I have often wished I could be that little child. Now, the rest of the performers that are not on stage at that time gather on the wings because as soon as the show is over, we all go out into the audience to greet them once again. So here we were in the wings, in the dark, and in the shadows, I saw this young boy who was crying. So I went up to him and said, is something wrong, or are you just sad that the show is ending? And he just said, I'm okay, I'm just sad. And I said, would you like a hug? And he ran and leapt into my arms and gave me such a tight hug. And after a moment, he said, thank you. Especially with the holiday season upon us, I found myself pondering, could this be a little bit of the feeling that the most famous Mother Mary had when she held her newborn son? When love is given, love intensifies. I believe we need hugs in this world. And a lot of us need practice at asking for those hugs and asking for whatever we may need. This is why I've been going to cuddle parties. Cuddle Party is a workshop that helps people to improve their communication, boundaries, and consent, and also offers optional nurturing platonic touch. My first time at a cuddle party, I knew I wanted to be there, I was excited, but I was also very nervous. And I wasn't ready to ask people to cuddle yet. So I was very grateful that this gentleman came over and, with all the confidence you can imagine, asked me, "Would you like to lean against me?" And I said, "Yes." And I felt comfort and love and warmth, and I felt very relaxed. And he just seemed like he had been doing this since he was born, so confident, so sure of himself. He later expressed to me that he actually experienced a great deal of social anxiety, and he used to have a hard time even speaking to people. And here he was asking for cuddles, which I think most of us would have a pretty difficult time trying. And he was able to overcome this fear merely with 5 or 6 cuddle parties that he had attended. So I am working on improving my communication and compassion with Cuddle Party. With all this talk of compassion, I figured I would ask Alexa, "What's the definition of compassion?" And she said, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." So when I cleaned out her digital wax from her microphone ears, she then told me, "Compassion is a feeling of sympathy for someone undergoing a hardship, accompanied by the deep desire to alleviate that suffering." So, my fellow Toastmasters and friends, on behalf of Alexa and myself, I ask you, when will you use compassion and comfort to create connection and love in your